Welcome back, boxing fans, to another great show with Sean on boxing. So today I heard a ridiculous narrative trying to justify Tank Davis's lack thereof resume. And it's not that people say Tank Davis hasn't fought a lot of decent fighters. What people have said is that he hasn't fought any elite fighters. He hasn't faced any of the top guys in his weight divisions. He hasn't stepped up and taken on the true challenges, the real 50-50 fights, the fights literally everybody else asks every other top fighter in the world to do. That's what people were asking Inoue to do when they wanted him to step up to 122 and face Stephen Fulton. That's what people consistently have asked Canelo to do, and are asking him to do that now to step up and face Benavidez. That's what people have asked Terence Crawford to do when they asked him to step up and face Errol Spence. Literally throughout boxing history, this is what boxing fans have always asked top fighters to do, right? So you can respect Tank Davis and appreciate the skill set, the power, the explosiveness that he has. But at the end of the day, you also realize that his team, Floyd Mayweather and the PBC, have basically protected him for the majority of his career. The kid's 30 years old. He's never unified. Never unified. I could find fighters that are younger than him, not pound for pound fighters, who've done more in that respect than he's done. Right? Every great fighter in boxing has unified fights, unified titles before. It's just a basic expectation for a top fighter, because generally, in 99% of the situations, the best fighters in your division are not the contenders, but the other world champions. And if you're only fighting the contenders in your sanctioning body, you're literally fighting a quarter of the top guys in your division, and none of those are the elite guys, because those guys are world champions. The only time you're going to face those guys is if you unify. So this guy used Leo Santa Cruz to kibosh that whole narrative, trying to compare Leo Santa Cruz to Oscar De La Hoya, and saying that, Floyd beating Oscar is the same as Tank Davis beating Leo Santa Cruz. Think about that ridiculousness. Literally, Floyd Mayweather had to go up to a heavier weight division, 154, to take on De La Hoya at his comfortable weight, where he'd already won a world title, right? And where Floyd had never fought before, right? Oscar was considered a pound for pound fighter, and a guy who was already considered a future Hall of Famer. Leo Santa Cruz was the guy that moved up to Tank Davis's division. This was the fourth division that he's moved up to. He fought a guy that wasn't even ranked by the WBA. So it's not like he won a title by beating a champion. He literally won a vacant title that Tank Davis vacated to fight some bum-ass fucking dude so that he could win a title, so that Tank Davis could fight him for his first pay-per-view, trying to use his name recognition and the Mexican fan base to try to sell Tank's first pay-per-view. I mean, that's the same thing they did with Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. So you could see the rationale behind it. You know exactly what they were doing. Yet, now somehow that's supposed to be Oscar De La Hoya type of victory for Gervonta Tank Davis. I mean, that's how desperate guys are to try to twist and turn and manufacture something, right? Like, sure, Leo Santa Cruz has had a solid resume and a solid accomplishment, but at this point, I don't even know if people would have him as a first ballot Hall of Famer if he retired tomorrow, because the best win on his resume is Abner Mares and Carl Frampton, which are both good names, but neither of them are fucking going to be Hall of Famers, right? One of the best wins or fights he could have had was the Gary Russell fight, but the PBC and Al Heyman literally protected Leo Santa Cruz and didn't allow him to step in the ring to fight Gary Russell. Why? Because they probably knew he was going to lose. The same reason why they protected him, Frampton, and Mares from Rigo, right? Yet Top Rank gets the criticism for that. Yet it wasn't Top Rank top fighters and champions that were ducking and dodging Rigo. It was literally PBC fighters. Abner Mares, Carl Frampton, Leo Santa Cruz. Three of them that all fought one another but all blatantly ducked Rigo, right? And of course, then once again, ducked Gary Russell. That was the fight people were asking for, because that would have been a unification fight between the WBA and the WBC champion. But no, we pushed him up to 130 to win a title so that Tank Davis could do his first pay-per-view. But now we're supposed to act as if somehow that fight was historical. That somehow all the top fighters he could have fought, that's irrelevant because, well, he did fight Leo Santa Cruz. And that's the same as Floyd Mayweather beating Oscar De La Hoya. You can't make this kind of delusion up, right? The reality is, all people want Tank Davis to do is the same thing they want everyone to do, right? Well, some people are getting tons of accomplishments and praise, like a Devin Haney for becoming undisputed. Then people defend Tank Davis, who beat two champions at 130 pounds, right? Pedraza, Leo Santa Cruz. Two of the better wins on his resume, both at 130 pounds. Then he moved up to 140. He's literally faced two fighters basically from 140, neither world champions. And yes, Mario Barros wasn't a world champion. And then he moved to 135, where he spent, I don't know, the last 5-6 years. And literally in that time, he's fought 0 135-pound world champions. He was just elevated to the WBA title, not by beating anyone. He was elevated because Devin Haney dropped his titles and moved himself up to 140, meaning that now the WBA super title was vacant, so Tank Davis was elevated to that belt, right? So when you look at his resume and his accomplishments, he doesn't have quality, he has quantity. And literally that's something that many fighters get criticized for. But in this case, literally that is Tank Davis's resume. Quantity over quality, right? And not even accomplishments, not unifications, not belts, none of the things that you can actually use to talk about the historically great things he's done in his divisions, because he hasn't done anything great in his divisions, right? And this is not me hating on Tank Davis, because the same way I would love to see Tank Davis in with elite fighters is the same way I'd like to see everybody in with elite fighters, right? Discriminatively of what nationality they are or what race. I don't care. I want to see Inoue fight Junto Nakatani. Why? Because fucking 100% Junto Nakatani is the best potential opponent for Inoue. Better than any of those fucking guys at 126, and better than anybody currently at 122. It's a super fight in Japan. I want to see Canelo, move up and fight the winner of Bivol and Beterbiev. Sure, you could say, oh, David Benavidez, but David Benavidez is no fucking Bivol or Beterbiev. The winner of that is going to be the undisputed light heavyweight champion of the world. For Canelo to go up and try to become a 2-weight undisputed world champion against the winner of that fight, oh my God. I'd find it really difficult to understand how people could hate on him for doing that. But they will. And I'm not saying he's going to do it, but that's what I would like to see him do, right? Some people justify Bud Crawford going up and trying to get a cash out for Canelo. If that's what he wants to do, he can do it. I'll support him. But what I'd rather see him do is literally become undisputed by beating the top guys at 154 pounds, right? Literally in every single weight division in boxing, what I want to see is the best fighting the best, right? And I don't need to make excuses or duck or dodge and manufacture reasons why these fights don't happen. I mean, I can tell you why fights aren't happening. Promotional issues, money issues. But as a boxing fan, I don't give a fuck about that. That's irrelevant to me. I want to see fights get made. It's not my job to worry about how much money the fighters are getting paid or how the promoter is trying to maneuver people to benefit their own agenda. No, I don't fucking care. That shit's irrelevant to a boxing fan. As a boxing fan, we want to see the best fight the best. And so why isn't Tank Davis a part of that conversation? Why wouldn't we want to see him fight the best fighters available as well, right? But these guys are so desperate to protect Tank Davis and act like somehow he's doing something historic when everybody knows that's far from the truth. Yet these same people are then hypercritical of guys like Inouye, or hypercritical of guys like Canelo, right? Inouye and Canelo have both done far more than Tank Davis has done. Inouye's become a two-weight undisputed champion. Oh, he's just chasing titles. Oh, he's chasing titles. So isn't that what Devin Haney and Bud Crawford did then? Like, you can't accuse Inouye of chasing titles and then praise Haney and Bud Crawford for literally doing the exact same thing that Devin Haney did. But people that push narratives, that's what they do, you know, which highlights their race bait fucking mentality. Literally, we have Bivol and Beterbiev fighting this weekend. For what? Undisputed light heavyweight world title. Right? Two undefeated fighters stepping in to unify all four titles. And it's being revered, talked about all over the internet, except, of course, by the usual suspects, because of how significant of a fight it is, because of what they're trying to do. See, Tank Davis is not doing that. He's literally pulling a fighter up from 130 pounds to beat on a guy who has a title that he's not going to get anyway, to defend his title that he never earned, and put it on pay-per-view and acting like somehow people are getting something that they want, whereas the reality is they're not getting anything they want. Nobody was asking for this fight. Literally, what people were asking for was O'Shaquie Foster to fight this guy for unification. Literally, that's what people were asking for, not fucking Tank Davis to fight him at 135. But these guys are so sensitive, so racially biased, that of course they have to somehow defend Tank Davis and criticize literally everybody else in boxing who's doing far more than he is. But tell me I'm lying.